Today's video is a review of the book The Great Cholesterol Myth by Dr. Jonny Bowden and Dr. Stephen Sinatra. Conventional medicine thinks that high cholesterol is the major risk factor for heart disease. If blood cholesterol levels are high, it may damage the arteries and it may deposit in the arteries, forming a plaque. In other words, the arteries get clogged. Subsequently, you get a heart attack or a heart disease. What is the reason? High blood cholesterol levels. But why high cholesterol levels? Because of eating saturated fats. Saturated fat is responsible for the increase in cholesterol levels. There is another group that thinks that cholesterol is not the main culprit for heart disease. There are other factors which cause heart disease. I will discuss this in this video. Watch the video until the end. I am Dr. Balaram Dhotre, a researcher by profession and the author of Unraveling the Root Cause of Chronic Disease. Today, I will be reviewing the book The Great Cholesterol Myth by Dr. Jonny Bowden and Dr. Stephen Sinatra. Their views on heart diseases are different than that of Dr. Ancel Key's. They hold a different view on the cause of heart disease. Let's start the discussion now. For decades, cholesterol has been portrayed as the primary villain or primary risk factor for heart disease. But in the book, The Great Cholesterol Myth, Dr. Jonny Bowden and Dr. Stephen Sinatra aim to dismantle this long-standing belief. They think differently. They think that cholesterol itself is not the primary cause of heart disease. And the widespread use of cholesterol-lowering drugs, like statins, are wrong. Using drugs like statins and other cholesterol-lowering drugs, foods, supplements is wrong. The authors propose a more holistic approach to heart health. According to them, the main culprits are sugar, inflammation, and oxidative stress. Sugar and carbohydrates or a low-fat diet are responsible for the problem and not saturated fats. They propose that inflammation and oxidative stress are the main culprits in causing heart disease. Inflammation and oxidative stress cause heart disease. Let's critically examine the claims, evidence, and practical implications of this book. Cholesterol isn't the enemy. Bowden and Sinatra argue that the conventional focus on lowering cholesterol has been a major public health mistake. This focus was largely driven by epidemiological studies, such as Ancel Key's 7 countries study. Many of you may not easily understand the meaning of epidemiological studies. Epidemiological studies mean an association of two things. One thing is associated with the other. Eating saturated fats is associated with the cause of high cholesterol. Smoking is associated with the cause of high cholesterol. The authors argue that cholesterol is a necessary and beneficial molecule to the body. It plays a crucial role in cellular function, hormone production, and brain health. Heart disease is not caused by high cholesterol but rather by chronic inflammation and oxidative damage. He emphasizes the importance of energy production and cellular metabolism in heart health. The book is a direct challenge to the diet heart hypothesis, which has dominated dietary guidelines for decades. Instead of targeting saturated fats and cholesterol, the authors advocate addressing factors such as sugar, processed foods, and stress, which they believe are more directly responsible for cardiovascular disease. The evidence, shifting the blame to inflammation and sugar. The authors cite a range of studies to support their arguments, focusing on the role of inflammation and metabolic dysfunction in heart disease. Inflammation as the root cause. They argue that chronic inflammation damages blood vessels, leading to the formation of arterial plaque. The artery damage is not done by cholesterol. Cholesterol is not the primary offender. It is merely a bystander, sent to repair the damage. Sugar and processed foods. They argue that saturated fat is not the primary cause of heart disease. Instead, they point to the consumption of sugar and processed foods as major contributors. Additionally, they highlight the potential risks associated with low-fat diets, which can lead to systemic inflammation, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome. Criticism of statins. The authors challenge the widespread prescription of statins, noting their potential side effects, including muscle damage, cognitive impairment, and diabetes. They argue that statins are overprescribed for individuals who do not have significant risk factors beyond elevated cholesterol levels. Critical note. One group of people believes that saturated fats cause high cholesterol levels, which damages the arteries and leads to heart disease. Dr. Sinatra believes that it is unsaturated fats and a high-carb diet is the cause of heart disease. This type of diet is responsible for causing inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic syndrome, which ultimately ends up in damaging arteries and causing heart disease. Root causes or additional risk factors. The authors explain heart disease in a new way. Instead of focusing on one thing like cholesterol, they look at the other risk factors. The authors talk about other risk factors like LDL oxide, inflammation, C-reactive protein, high-carb diet, insulin resistance, and oxidative stress. Root causes highlighted: chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance are presented as primary drivers of heart disease. Risk factor critique. They think the real problem is when LDL cholesterol gets damaged, oxidized, forming LDL oxide. LDL oxide damages the arteries, causing plaque buildup and inflammation. They suggest checking other things like CRP, triglycerides, and HDL-LDL particle size. They believe these measurements give a better idea of heart disease risk. This approach contrasts sharply with books like Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, which adhere to the diet heart hypothesis and advocate for strict reductions in dietary fats and cholesterol. Practicality: a balanced, flexible approach. One of the book's strengths is its practical advice for achieving heart health. Dietary recommendations. The authors advocate a diet low in processed foods and refined sugars, rich in vegetables, healthy fats, example, avocados, nuts, olive oil, and moderate protein. Unlike stricter plant-based approaches, they do not require the elimination of animal products. Lifestyle changes. In addition to dietary adjustments, the book emphasizes the importance of exercise, stress management, and sleep in maintaining heart health. Supplements. The authors recommend specific supplements, including coenzyme Q10, CoQ10, for statin users and omega-3 fatty acids to support cardiovascular function. Conclusion. The Great Cholesterol Myth is a thought-provoking and accessible book that challenges entrenched beliefs about heart disease. By shifting the focus from cholesterol to inflammation and sugar, it offers a more holistic perspective on cardiovascular health. Lastly, I feel even their theory has not helped in eliminating heart disease. Something may be missing in their theory as well. To find the real culprit, it is very essential to find the root cause of heart disease. It is essential to find the root cause of all chronic diseases. This is what I am interested in.